Hey there, Restaurant Pros. It's David Scott Peters, and welcome to episode 83 of the Restaurant Prosperity Formula. I've been coaching restaurant owners since 2003, and the Restaurant Prosperity Formula is based on what the most successful restaurant owners I've worked with do on a daily basis to achieve their success. The basic premise of the formula centers around achieving prosperity, freedom from your restaurant, and the financial freedom you deserve. To achieve prosperity, you have to follow a very specific formula made up of leadership, systems, training, accountability, and taking action. Today, our guest is Josh Kopel. For a second time, Josh is a restaurateur and tech pioneer. Throughout his 20-year career, he managed venues ranging from casual concepts to Hollywood nightclubs, bars, and ultra lounges. He also opened his own Michelin-rated fine dining concept. Josh is a real restaurant pro. Listen in on our conversation while Josh walks us through what marketing really means for your restaurant. I want to welcome Josh Kopel to the show today, but first, a word from our sponsor. We all know managing costs is one of the most important parts of running a profitable restaurant, especially now. But between fluctuating vendor prices, waste, labor, and the never-ending list of tasks that demand your attention on a daily basis, it can be challenging for even the most experienced of us to manage costs well. That's where Margin Edge comes in. Margin Edge is a complete restaurant management software that automatically uses data from your POS and invoices to show you food and labor costs in real time. Don't wait until it's too late. Margin Edge gives you tools to make decisions in the moment, like a daily P&L, price alerts on key ingredients, and real-time plate costs, all without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. Take control of your costs, work more efficiently, and be more profitable. Go to www.marginedge.com/DSP to learn more and schedule your demo today. Josh, I am thrilled to have you back on my podcast. I really appreciate it. I hope things are going awesome for you. Again, really excited about what we're going to talk about today. Are you ready?
I was born for this. I am so excited to be here again. You know I love you, and thank you for the kind words. You know I'm a glutton for flattery.
Well, hey, the two of us, we're kind of two peas in a pod, but I wanted to bring you back because you and I have talked a little bit. I brought you out to my Mastery Plus meeting. I had my Mastery Plus members, a 2-day meeting, just were on fire with the things that you shared. We've covered a lot of stuff over a very long day. And certainly we can't do all that here, but I did want to kind of bring you in to disperse the myth or the misunderstanding of what the hell marketing really is. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, because I know every restaurant owner in the world thinks, man, if I could get more butts in seats, I will make more money. Now, as an operations person, I go, hey, if you're losing money, you could lose money faster. Yeah, some point in time, you could have this really great campaign and bring in more butts in seats and outpace your break-even point, which is horrible, but you're going to work your ass off for nothing. So we're going to make an assumption when we're talking here that people listening to us right now, they have their shit together. They do Restaurant 101, right? Hot food hot, cold food cold, clean, safe work environment for the guests and employees. Wow, customer service, incredible product. It just, wow, right? And they take care of all the other little things that they just give great hospitality. With that said, now, if your operation's all together, we know that volumes cure all ills. Because when we're more efficient, we bring that break-even point down lower, we make money faster, and in fact, we make it at a 30% profit margin or 35% profit margin because we're past all of our fixed expenses. So now this is where you come in. In my brain, it's like, okay, we're going to make an assumption, they're rocking and rolling, but let's make some money. But what is it? What is marketing? Like, is it some magic pill or is it hard work?
I think we all struggle at some point in our careers to wrap our minds around what this marketing thing is and why we pay people such big dollars to do it for us. I mean, to go ahead and break probably the biggest myth out there, it's not like a box with technology on and like a button on the top, and you just press it and then all of a sudden you're busier. Marketing in its simplest form is a text message. It's an email. Marketing is something that can be done in 5 minutes a day. Ultimately, it's about relationship building, which I know in saying that, it probably doesn't clear things up for people. But once we know who our audience is, we can just speak to them one-on-one in a way that resonates. And that gets them through the door, and that gets them back. That gives them the language that they need to tell their friends. It's a beautiful thing. And to go back to something you just said, because I think it's super valid, I hope that everybody listening does in fact have their shit together, but it's not a requirement. I mean, look around your community. How many mediocre restaurants do you know with decent food and mediocre service that are busier than shit?
Yeah.
There's so many. Marketing is independent of operations. And people think if I do a great job, people will come. But I'm here to tell you right now that the folks like me that are out there focused on marketing will eat your lunch every day of the week, no matter how good of a restaurant you have.
Well, let's key on one thing you just said. You got to know who your customer is, your demographic. How do I, if I really have no idea, let's go backwards. If I talk to a restaurant owner and say, what's your demographic? Well, they're thinking of who they see in their restaurant, which is not necessarily the time, that they're in there is the main demographic. It's just who they might feel familiar with and miss a whole group of people. How do I find out who my customer is, what the demographic is, so I can market to them and know the message that I've got to give them?
That's a great question. So let's go through the life cycle of a restaurant so that we can clearly define. So the first demographic you go after is you. I think that, most of the failures that we see outside of our industry, entrepreneurially, generally, is when we build something for someone else, when we're trying to scratch someone else's itch, because you don't fully understand the issue. So I can tell you that when I opened my bar in Hollywood and it was a hit out the gate, because I was only serving me. And fortunately, I am mediocre in all ways. I am average. And so what I like, everyone else likes. What a miracle. When I opened the fine dining restaurant, I opened it for rich people, for fancy people. And it failed. It failed miserably for the first 18 months until eventually I had enough. And I said, if I'm going to close a restaurant, let me close one that I love instead of one that I hate. And we changed everything about it. And it became this extension of self. And that authenticity resonated. Because when I said what I felt, the people that felt the same way as me, they began to come in. So before you open, I think it's great to choose yourself as the avatar. So once you're open, ultimately, and it's no different than children, right? You have all these intentions for a restaurant, and then as soon as it comes to life, it begins to tell you what it is. Anyone that's coming to your restaurant once a week, that's your demographic. So whatever you think it is, you're wrong. That's exactly who it is. And here's like one of the foundational things in marketing is communication. And you think it's this megaphone style communication, but it's not. It's sitting with the people that come to your restaurant once a month and saying, hey, what would it take to get you in twice a month? It's as simple as that. We sit in these dark rooms, huddled with our leadership team saying, oh, what's it going to take to get these people to do what we want? When our best customers are more than happy to tell us what they need.
And that goes back to that Restaurant 101, great hospitality. I mean, are my managers, are you as owners touching tables, truly listening, actively listening to your table? We're not talking about the corporate, how's everything? Oh my God, I want to die when that happens. I used to do a figure eight, and I touch a table, and I'd walk around the restaurant, touch a table, and I'd touch a table, and I knew I was coming back to a table, 3 stops ago next to it, but I wasn't going to go one in a row, and truly trying to stop and listen and actively understand if they've been there before, their routine regulars, whatever it may be, and kind of, again, that's a part of the experience part. But what you're telling me is, hey, the demographic information is under your nose if you simply take the time to listen to your guest. And I do really love, and I think you've made great strides with many of my members with that. Make your restaurant the restaurant you want to be at. Make it,
for sure.
Make it something that you identify with, you're proud of, all those things. And I think that's fantastic. So let's say I know who my person is. It's me. It's my once a week to once a month people. I know who they are. What do I do with them? Like, again, what's marketing?
So great question. So then the next thing we ask is, what do people like us do when we're not here? Right? Do we go to church? Do we go to community events? Are we at the local farmers market? Where do you find more people like you? And you do that by figuring out where you are when you're not in the restaurant, right? Do people like you live within 1 square mile of the restaurant? Because if you do, mailers might work, right? Like there are all of these different things that link us together, these community events, these community activations, these intramural clubs, these church groups. Is it, are you a parent, right? So maybe we market to the PTA in the local schools, right? Maybe we sponsor a local baseball league. Like there are all of these opportunities to find more people like us. Now, the next part of that is, what are you going to tell them? And I think this is the big marketing mistake that people make. I think that everyone is trying to compete in food and it's a losing game because everyone out there has better food than you or worse food than you. Everybody out there has more expensive food or less expensive food than you. And there are always new entrants into the market. So you're constantly competing in what is arguably a commodity business. So you drop it. We have great food. We have great service. Those are table stakes these days, right? You begin to market ideas. I opened this restaurant because I wanted to invest in this community. And even what I believe, then you should give your money to me. A quote that I heard a long time ago, David, has always resonated with me is, people vote with their money. So if a restaurant closes, it's because the community voted for them to go out of business. And it's a harsh reality, but you need to convince people to vote for you. And the best way to do that is by sharing what you believe. Like, nobody cares about companies and businesses. Nobody hopes or aspires to support businesses. They support individuals. And so when you can put yourself out there with your ideas, with your beliefs, it resonates with the market.
I think those are two very powerful ideas. It's the one is when I teach service at the table, you can hate a company, you can hate the restaurant, but it's harder to hate a person when you've connected with the guest, when you have taken care of their needs. Then after, you've taken their order and so on, you say, you come back to the table, you turn away, come back, go, hey, by the way, my name's David. Now we have a personal connection. I find a way to get there because again, this corporate restaurant, this SOB place, this, call it any brand you want, they're so cold and sterile. It's just rote. Where when we as independents can truly flip that switch and go, we're people, we're part of the community. And I think that's a part that really blows my mind. I talk to people, I say, if you're competing in the food business, you're competing with a gas station. I can get a hot dog at a gas station. I can get pizza. And heck, some of these high-end gas stations are putting out pretty decent food anymore. And that's not who I want to compete with. I want to create an experience. Now, you took it one step further. It's not just about the experience. It's about your messaging. It's about who you are. Can you just go down that path just a little deeper to say, okay, I'm open. I need to start to tell people that because I've been doing all the Instagram photos on food and I've gone on Facebook and say, come in, we've got half off drinks and things like this. All I've done is market food and beverage. And you're saying, hey, kick that to the curb. Come back and say, tell me why the hell you're in business, who you are, and how basically you touch me, your average customer. Am I hearing that right?
You are. And before we get into newsletters and social media, which is where everybody goes to, right? It starts within the four walls of your restaurant. The goal is to explain your why organically through the course of that experience, using the tools at your disposal. And at the end of the meal, the goal is to do two things. Number one, make sure that they clearly understand. And number two, that you have supplied them with the language that they will use to describe your business to someone else. And so how does that manifest? I'll tell you how it manifested for me. When my hostess would walk people to their table, she would ask, have you been here before? Here's what you should know about us. We started 5 years ago, and the vision was to become a community table. And so the goal here is that we're able to celebrate big and small occasions with you, and so on and so forth. And then she would drop them off at their table. And then the server would walk up and say, I just wanted to welcome you to the restaurant. I know it's your first time. The big idea here is Southern classics reimagined. We do conventional cultural food in a new way, in an elevated fashion. So I am sure that you love gumbo and etouffee, and we've done it in a really interesting way that I think you'll connect with. And then they get the menu, right? And at the bottom of the menu, instead of listing like all of our local vendors that we use and all that, which everybody does on their menu, we listed all of the employees that work in the back of house, from the executive sous chef and executive chef all the way down to the dishwashers, that said these are the individuals that have been here since 7:30 this morning to craft the meal that you're having this evening. And it creates a human dynamic. It shows them the effort that goes into creating an effortless experience. And when they go tell other people, what do they say? Oh my God, you've got to go to this restaurant. It's this amazing concept. They do Southern classics reimagined. And like this plate of food in front of me, not only was it amazing, but do you know 22 people had been there since 7:30 in the morning working to craft that meal for me? You've got to go check it out. That's marketing.
That's powerful. It also, in my, as an operations person, goes, man, that means you got to have training. Like, that doesn't happen automatically. We don't send people to the table, follow me for 3 days and good luck. That is solid training on exactly what your message is. And it starts with, again, where we kind of glanced over it. I've talked about it in my podcast. I've talked about it in my lives. I talk about it in my meetings and seminars. And you and I have talked about it. You talk about it. You got to know your why. Like, if you're listening to this, it's going to be very difficult to market. It's going to be difficult to train skills and techniques like you just talked about to your team if you don't know your why. Like, you truly have to. On a side note, we can talk about it if we have time, but you got to know why you went into business. It is so important because that is your driving force on everything that you do. Take us along the marketing journey a little further.
Let's do it. So let's talk about menus. So I know this is one of your favorite topics, David. And I look at, you're very focused on the margin and making sure that the math works on the menu. For me, it's a different perspective. I agree with absolutely everything you say. But what I see when I look at so many restaurateurs is their menus are a compass, not a roadmap. They're not sales tools. This is everything that we offer, pick what you want. Instead of saying, this is the best imaginable experience you can have within the four walls of these. It should be a tool for your service staff, whether you're doing table service or counter style. People should be able to look at your menu and know exactly what they should eat. And I know I'm talking abstract. First thing we do is we cut the fat. There are menu items that you don't love. There are menu items that aren't great. There are menu items that don't sell. And we have them on there for no particular reason, right? Most of us don't do benchmarking audits. So we don't even know how our prices stand up relative to our competitors on an item-by-item basis. What I found is that menus that are small, focused, and mighty do really, really well. And when you do that, it's marketing because you're telling a story. This is the best imaginable version of this restaurant. And it eliminates the need to pre-shift your staff and say, hey, could you sell more? Could you do this? Could you do that? Hey, could you really focus on selling this? Because the menu can do the work for them. In fine dining, the chef recommends you choose one from each section. And there are like 5 sections, right? The desserts that you serve, instead of having 10, you have 2, and one's in a box. And that's the best one they should get. And the other one's for people with dietary restrictions. There are all of these things you can do. I was working with one of your clients yesterday afternoon, and I said, what's the best thing on your menu? And she goes, it's the fish and chips. So do you sell a lot of that? She goes, not particularly. I said, well, then maybe we should do something about that. Maybe if we strip out all the stuff that you don't even want to sell, and we just sell that, we'll be in a really good place. The last thing that I'll say as it relates to marketing is this. When it comes to design, restaurateurs, we get together and all we talk about is innovation. We love innovation. The best restaurateurs in the world are innovators. But that's from the perspective of a restaurateur. Customers love consistency.
Yep.
They want to sit in the same chair on the same day and eat the same meal and have everything be exactly the same. So when you look at marketing, are you trying to sell the hits or are you trying to innovate? Is it all about specials when you're forgetting your core products? What is your core business? You know? And as it relates to that, and then I promise I'll take a breath, David, I swear. But the other thing I want to talk about, because I think it's super important, is what is your core business? What is it that you are trying to sell? At the end of the day, you can only have one call to action, right? How many times have you gone to a restaurant's website? Maybe you look at your own restaurant's website, and all you want is for people to come in for dinner. And then the website loads, and it says, sign up for our mailing list. Have a private event with us. All of these different things. Buy a gift card. Order online. Now launching brunch. We have a new event next week. When all you want is for people to come in for dinner. And so what should the homepage of your website say? Come in for dinner tonight. And then in the next section, it gives them a reason to come in for dinner tonight with a call to action. Come in for dinner tonight, right? At the end of the day, every service that we have, the goal is that we'll make more money, not realizing that that's a business unto itself. Service is like the entire business with its own customer base and its own marketing strategy. And when you launch lunch, when you launch brunch, you are now telling the people, you are cannibalizing your own market, and you're saying to the same people that you want to just come in for dinner, hey, come in for this too, and this too. When as restaurateurs, we're diners. You're not going to get me 6 times a week. So you have to be maniacal in your focus as it relates to what you're asking people to do. And it needs to directly relate to the way that you're making money today. I'll shut up.
Well, I was going to say the two things you just talked about are truly the same. You're telling your guest the experience you want them to have. You're telling your guests the one action you want them to take. So the menu, when your menus are too big, and it was quite interesting. I had my Mastery Plus meeting just a couple weeks ago, the time of you and I talking right now. And you and I have a lot of the same members. They come through my program. I send them your way and they go, well, Josh said about menu. And I am beating the crap out of their menu. And I'm going, Josh is right. What they do is they get half the information. I'm going, yes, we're going to trim it down. And yes, you need to have I love the idea of, putting the perfect menu in, but hey, you have a single panel menu, which means the middle upsells the most. What the hell's that doing at the bottom? Let's get that at the top. Your freaking logo goes to the bottom. It's both the marketing approach and the eye movement marketing side of things, or how to make money with your menu approach that kind of meld together. Well, same thing translates to, as you're talking about with your websites. So many restaurant owners, their websites suck. They're just absolutely horrid. Yeah. And, marketing 101, and I break it in my site all too often, but you want them to do one thing. This is where many of you listening to us now have fallen or had an ad draw you somewhere, and there's only one thing you do: give them your name and your email address, or whatever it may be. Because why? If you have to do the one action, we can get the one action to happen. So if you're doing a catering campaign, I want catering, give me your name and your email address and your phone number. Well, if that's all you want versus, hey, you can come in and we do all these wonderful things, we do all these, it's just give me your data and I'll market to you. I'll give you what you want. And so that focused menu, focused approach at the table, focused idea of your why, focused menu. All these things drive together. And I think it's really, really powerful, because too many restaurant owners want to be all things to all people. And worse than that, they see another restaurant, maybe a chain, do something, you think, that's what I'm going to do. They must know what they're talking about. And it's not the case. You've got to learn. You've got to know what you've got to do. And that's where this conversation is really, really powerful. So I got a menu. I focused it. I've gotten rid of the fat. I've laid it out in a way that it will sell. I've trained my people. I've got my website driving people in. What's next?
So we did all of that because everybody wants to talk about new customers and increasing customer frequency. But all you're doing is just packing people into a broken machine. So that's why first things first, we fix the model. In doing everything we discussed, a couple of things should have happened. Number one, we should have increased your profit margin. Number two, we should have increased your per customer average. And number three, if we're really selling, if we're really doing a good job, we should also be making ancillary revenue, right? By booking events, by selling gift cards, with sales machine in place. And so the next thing we want to do is scale customer frequency. Why not new customers? That's coming down the road, but there's always an associated cost with getting a new customer. It's going to be time, it's going to be effort, it's going to be money. So the low-hanging fruit are the customers that already know you, that already like you, that have already had the experience. And I think that's where we focus next. I always start with this question because I think that it's one of those inflection points in the lives of a restaurateur. And it's, what would your business look like if everyone that comes in twice a month? Holy shit, right? It's amazing. It's revolutionary. It is a paradigm shift in the nature of your business. So how do we do it? Well, it starts by asking, first of all, how often do you think about your favorite restaurant, the one that you don't own, the one that you look forward to going to? And the answer is never. You're busy. You have your own business. You have your own family. You have your own life. So we spend all of this time and effort to let people know we exist. The idea behind customer frequency isn't that we compel to come in. It's not that we bribe people to come back. It's just that we remind them that they exist. There was this book, it's like a foundational marketing book called Influence. And one of the things that difference in the book is this Harvard study where this woman, this was back in the days of Kinko's and Xeroxing, she would try to skip the line to get to the front of a really long line of people trying to make copies. And what they found was 50% of the time, the person at the front of the line would allow her to get in. And they found that 80% of the time she was allowed to get in if she supplied a reason. Now, what they found was the reason itself didn't matter. Any reason worked. Hey, my dog's in the car. Hey, I'm running really late. Was just as effective as, hey, I need to make a lot of copies. Do you mind if I skip the line? And so that being the case, what we know about human psychology is any reason will work. So when we market, it's a singular call to action, right? Come in for dinner this weekend. And so when we're on social, when we put out our newsletter, texting our guests, it's always a singular call to action and a reason to come in. That's how we scale customer frequency. Favorite restaurant have to do to compel you to come back? Just remind you. They don't need gift cards and discounts and BOGOs and all of that stuff that just kills our profitability. They just need to be reminded that you exist because they're very busy people and they need a reason. And the reason could be, this is the special this evening, or come by and try our signature dish, or, we've just launched a new cocktail program. Whatever it is, just need a reason. And so that is how we scale customer frequency. Do it in a methodical way. And the way we do that is a monthly newsletter, a monthly text message that's somewhat time sensitive because those serve two very different purposes. And then also, at the conclusion of a meal, when somebody is sitting in front of you and they just had a wonderful time, you give them a reason to come back. It's as simple as saying, everything was great? And they say, yes, everything was wonderful. It always is. And it's say, hey, you should come back next weekend. We're doing this thing. Hey, you should come back on Wednesday. We're launching a new happy hour. Hey, have you been in for happy hour? You should come in and check it out. Just give them a reason to come back, and they will.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. I try and break it down as simple as possible when it comes to training your team. I use an acronym called GUEST. That's one I was taught. And so you take GUEST, it's greet, understand, educate, satisfy, thank. So we greet them, hey, welcome. Everybody's got to make sure that people feel welcome, right? Going through the not standing at the door too long to not to sitting at a table too long without having a server come by and so on if we're full service. But it's understand why they're there. So if it's a business meeting, is it an anniversary? Is it they're just they're tourists and walking around just want to be off their feet? Because if you understand why they're there, you can give them the experience they truly need anticipate their needs while they're there, and make it a great experience. Well, then we satisfy, right? We know, we understand, so we satisfy that need, and then we thank. And a part of thanking is making sure that you understand they had a choice to be somewhere else. But the other is a part of the thank is, like you talk about, inviting them back. All you're doing is inserting the give them a damn reason to come back. I would tell you that sometimes you've got to know the demographic. Like, for instance, if you've got a business lunch and people don't live in the area that come to lunch, they may not be so interested in about your Thursday night prime rib, but they might be really interested in that you've got another lunchtime feature coming next week that is, XYZ, that is phenomenal. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the invite back with the, hey, did you know, we still need to understand our guests, understand what they would be triggered on, that we're not just wasting our time and throwing something at them, or is it truly like the copier? Any message.
Any message works as long as it's specific.
Okay.
Like that whole, y'all come back now, you hear? That doesn't work. That was a dated reference. I am sure almost no one got that. But it doesn't work because it's abstract. It has to be concrete, right? You should come back next Sunday for brunch. You should come back. We're launching a lunch service. We're launching a special on this day. You have to give them a day. And they're not going to remember, but then they're going to get your newsletter, or then they're going to get the text message. And everything we've done reinforces the same message. You will come back on this day at this time. Think about the hurdle and how low it is. There are 30 days in a month, and we're just trying to take you from once to twice. It is that simple. And so once we know what it is, we can start at the top of the month, and that's what we say. Hey, we're doing this event. It's in 3 weeks. It's a chef collaboration or whatever that you're doing. And then that's all it talks about the conclusion of the meal.
So let's
and it works.
Let me drill this down to something on the operational side of things. I want to make sure our listeners, people, understand. It's not making that great experience means you have a clean restaurant. Remember the Restaurant 101? Your food comes out, tables marked with steak knives and spoons and all these things. We anticipate needs. They're met for them. Instead of, can I get you another soda? Bring me another soda. Making sure the guests keep their connection. Because what we're talking about is delivering that wow customer service, is making sure we think of nothing than the people we're sitting with. That everything comes to us and we have a fantastic time, that we go, man, this was unbelievable experience. It wasn't that we did jazz hands. It wasn't that we did some corporate hi, my name is. It is truly making sure guests have been engaged with each other, that their needs have been anticipated and met for them, which means you got to give great service. You got to have great food. You got to have a clean restaurant. You got to train people. You got to have management on your floor. All these things about getting your customers to come back is delivering on the damn promise, your why. Am I blowing that out of proportion, or is it really driven down to be a great restaurant? You're going to drive people back.
Absolutely. But again, I think the messaging is important. And I think that I don't know if doing a great job is enough today. And I'll tell you why. One, we already see great restaurants with great food, great service, great beverage programs. They go out of business every day. But I'd also say that the restaurateur of today, which I used to talk about the restaurateur of tomorrow, I think they're savvier. I think that they get it. I think they got something that I intuitively understood 10 years ago, which is being the best restaurateur in the world is super subjective. Super subjective. It varies by community. But those that are excellent at marketing, those are the ones that can consistently win the day. And so, it brings me to what I hope is like one of the big takeaways from this. It's that everybody is focused on what is urgent and not necessarily what's important. Marketing always gets pushed to the back burner. There's always a reason to not touch the tables. There's always a reason to not send out that text message campaign, or to wait another month to do the newsletter. Marketing is always like the option of last resort. When what we have seen collectively, all of us, is that when marketing works, it works immediately. Immediately. You launched a successful campaign. You found a promo that worked. You launched an event that sold out in 24 hours. Like, you know what works. You put a special on the menu that ultimately becomes a staple piece because people bought it. It sold out the first night. What works, works. And it is incredibly important that we begin to become focused on the message as well as the medium.
And hence why we're having this discussion. It's, again, you said the chicken egg kind of thing.
Did I beat that horse to death?
Yeah, well, people used to come find me to go, oh, should I have done marketing before I found you? No, you've got to do both. Oh, I'm gonna do marketing first, so I'm gonna come to you. No, you got to do both. Like, they're hand in hand. What I really love about this message, and I hope people are truly understanding, is here I am giving the operational side of things. Hey, give great service. Hey, have a clean restaurant, so on and so forth. And you're going, yes, but no. Market. Make sure you are delivering the message you want. Stop waiting for them to assume that they're going to get the message or that they're going to want to come back. Invite them back. Give them a reason to come back. Make sure every table knows you want them back and give them a damn reason, because every interaction you have with a table is marketing. Yeah?
Absolutely.
See,
Absolutely.
I can learn.
Yeah. Well, because here's the problem, and I'm sure you've seen it with some of your clients. Some of them don't make enough money because their margins are fucked, dogs are fucked, and they're paying too much in rent, and there are all of these issues, right? Some of them aren't making enough money because they're not making enough money. Some of them, plain and simple, aren't pushing the top line numbers that they need to make the restaurant viable.
Right.
Look at my fine dining restaurant. My fine dining restaurant took 18 months, actually a little bit longer, like 20 months, for our lease to make sense. At $21,000 a month, we had to make a minimum $2.1 million to have an average lease cost as a percentage of sales.
Right.
Yep. We had to grow into that. So no matter what we did before that, right, it was like peeing on a forest fire, because we had to fix that first and foremost. And so for the people that work with you and get these amazing results, they still be able to put enough money into their pocket.
It's a dynamite message.
Fix
in fact,
a broken machine, it still needs fuel.
Yeah, I literally recorded a YouTube tip last week that hasn't hit yet. That is literally, at some point in time, for some of you, you have a revenue issue. You don't have a cost control and operational issue. Like, you've got to build revenue. I've had conversations with people like, you'd be a great member with me, but you don't have the revenues. Your goal is to get sales up before you even, because you can control cost all day long, work your ass off, and still make nothing because you didn't pass your break-even point. You didn't get past covering rent. You didn't get past covering, those fixed costs. And even if your labor costs out of control, your cost of goods sold is out of control, there is a point in time that you need revenue to drive your business. And I think that is an excellent point. Take us down the path of the most expensive form of marketing for many, and that is getting a brand new customer in, that last leg of the stool, if you will.
Absolutely. So I think what we need to do first is figure out what the hurdle is. So the first hurdle with new acquisition is awareness. So everybody thinks social media, right? And a lot of people are on social media, but it's also important to understand that a critical element of marketing, especially as it relates to conversion, is intent. No one that sees your restaurant on social media is intending to go to a restaurant in that moment. They just aren't. And so when we look at new customer acquisition, where do I see the biggest opportunities? I see it where customer intent is the highest. So I would ask, is your website set up for conversion? When somebody goes to it, does it give them the information they want and the reasons that they should go there? And does it do it in an expedient way? Come in for dinner tonight, right? Is it food and beverage, or is it people eating and drinking? Because if you are not a fast food location, people aren't going to eat. They're going to dine. They're looking for, regardless of tier, some similar experience. And so if all you're showing is beer in a glass, right, an untouched sandwich, it's not going to resonate in the same way that somebody eating and drinking. When you're selling revelry, when you're selling an experience, it's powerful. So look at the pages where people are converting the highest. That's going to be your Yelp page, right? Nobody peruses Yelp. Like, they're looking to decide. And then the same with your Google listing, right? What do those images look like? Is it all like customer focused, like flip phone, half-eaten in poor light imagery? Or is it like the best imaginable version of your restaurant? Because the latter is what it should be. And go to your website, and then either they make a reservation or they decide to come in and the directions are super easy. So when we talk about awareness, it's about being where they are. And it goes back to the beginning of the conversation, right? Where are they when they're not in your restaurant? Are they at the PTA meeting? Are they at church on Sundays? Are they at the farmer's market on Saturday? Where are they? And then you be there too, in a really authentic way. The other thing that I'll say about new customer acquisition, I interviewed a guy for my show. His name was TK Pillen. He owns a restaurant called Veggie Grill, which is a very, very successful, fast casual, vegetarian food chain. But not a very exciting concept at all, even for vegetarians. So how did this guy build a prolific business? He said, I had a food in mouth strategy. Sampling works. Sampling works incredibly well. If you wanted to know what I would do at a farmer's market, if that's where my target customers are, I would bring a bunch of food, I'd bring beverages, and I would give all that shit away for free. Because if they try it and they like it, and you've given them the tools that they need to come in, they will. For me, all customer acquisition begins and ends in person with sampling.
Man, that's the guerrilla marketing stuff that most restaurateurs forget about doing. Like I talk about it if you're trying to build catering. Well, when did you send yourself or your catering person out to all the doctor's offices with some freaking cookies that you have and the flyers, or lunch, going to the old school things that when everybody listened to radio, wasn't satellite radio, you'd actually go to the DJs and bring them lunch at breakfast, so that the person driving in who's thinking about what am I going to do at lunch is hearing the DJ talk about how it is. But you're going out there for wall marketing, and you're saying you're breaking it down to even the further basics. You and your damn food. Make sure you get it in their hands, and if it's great, which it should be, they're going to want to come check you out.
Well, and there's another big thing that people do. I think it's the right intention executed. Is like, I tell everyone, I'm like, you should go to the concierge. Like, go to all the local hotel concierge and the apartment managers and like reach out, and they're like, and bring them coupons and gift cards. And I'm like, no, introduce yourself. Invite them to your restaurant. Like, nobody wants to help you, but nobody's going to turn down a free meal, right? And then they're not really helping you. They're just sharing their experience. Hey, we want to go to dinner tonight. Where should we go? Oh, well, you should go to Pro and Proper. I was just there the other night. I knew the owner. He's a really nice guy. I know he wants to do a lot of business with us. And so, like, you should definitely go there. Here's what I ate, and it was great. Is way different than them saying, here's a coupon from some jackass that dropped off a ton of these and is just looking to make money off of us. It's a very, very different dynamic. Building culture around community engagement is massive. And so if you invite these people in, I feel the same way about press. Another great way to build awareness is to get earned media. And the easiest way to do it in your community is to simply make a list of everyone that's written about you, everyone that's written about your competitors. All their information is available online easily because they're looking for things to write about. With a 24-hour news cycle, people are desperate for content to publish. And you just say, hey, David, I read that article that you wrote on the guy down the street. I think he's doing a great job too. And I think what we're doing here is pretty interesting. Why don't you come in with a friend, have dinner on me? I'll stop by the table for no more than 2 minutes and just let you know what we're working on. But I think it's special and I think you should try it. That kind of one-to-one works. Will Guidara talks about it all the time. He goes, we are in an industry where one size fits one. You must market to the individual, not to the group. And so if you know that your people read Eater, or they read Thrill List, or they read some local blogger, you make a one-to-one connection with them, and then they will make a one-to-one connection with their audience on your behalf. Simply sharing the experience that they had.
It's really powerful. My message for anybody who's been listening to me for any length of time, know that I say as a restaurant owner, I want your role to be working on budgets, marketing, lead the team, develop your managers, hold them accountable, work strategically on your business, move it forward. And notice I go budgets, marketing, because I'm a ops guy, budget first. But marketing is a part of what your role is. It's not to save $15 an hour and host your restaurant unless you want to be there and you're not needed. It's not to jump on a line and save $25 an hour because on a grill cook, because you're short staffed, because you don't have great culture in your business, all these things that go on, and you're working down instead of working up. What you're delivering is that piece that I talk about even further. You got to work on marketing. Your role as a restaurant owner is you must work on marketing. And so, because we're kind of running along here, and I want to make sure people understand what you do. I have people come through my Restaurant Transformation Intensive group coaching program, 30 weeks, weekly group coaching calls. We change their world on operational things, company culture, operating on a budget, controlling your food costs, your labor costs, having a life. By the time they get through the program, they've got 2 days off in a row. They are working strategically on their business. They've got managers, right? Which tees them up. Perfect time for Josh. Because why? They've got a market, and most restaurant owners don't know dork about marketing. I learn every single day as an entrepreneur, always trying new things and what's hot, what's not in marketing. And you've got to do that. Talk a little bit about, you've shared a ton of great things, but I'm sure people are like, I want more of Josh. I want to be able to learn those things. And I'm going to plug you in this way, and you can tell me I'm wrong. One of the things that I love that you do is you operate like I do. You teach somebody how to fish. You're not fishing for them. You're not going, let me handle your marketing. It's like, let me show you how you take care of every one of the things we talked about and about 1,000 other points to make sure you are in control of your marketing. And then if you decide to outsource anything, you know exactly what you're doing. You're not throwing bad money against the wall and hoping something sticks. You know your message. You know your why. You know your demographic. You go, I know what messages I want, and I want somebody else to take some of this off my shoulder, but I'm not abdicating. I'm not giving it up. I'm telling you what the hell I want you to do. Am I framing you properly?
Absolutely. So the whole point of this show and any interactions that I have with a client before they sign up, the goal is to brainwash them. Because marketing is not complicated. It's very simple, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy. So like when you look at the structure of my program, it's a 6-month program, and there are these 5-minute modules that they do. And these 5-minute modules are just saying, this is what you're going to do this week. This is what it looks like. Use the templates to get it done. And then we meet every Thursday in a momentum call to go over any obstacles that they have as it relates to implementing that. What I have found is that the 3 elements of success are going to be curriculum, community, and coaching. So what does that look like? What it looks like is that when people join the program, they're surrounded by the best restaurateurs in the country. And that's the case because we share a lot of the same clients.
Yeah.
And then also coaching. It's about accountability. And at the end of the day, when you say that you're going to do something, someone needs to be there to make sure that you do it. And it's done in I wouldn't say a warm way, but it is done in a way that it inspires accountability, that you get done what you need to get done. Because, my program is unique in the way that I offer an unconditional money-back guarantee. I guarantee everyone that I'll 10x your investment or you get your money back. So I'm working for you, but you still do all the stuff. So I need to make sure that you're working for you too. And so as a result, we're trying to make as much money as quickly as possible because as you know, when you move just a couple of these levers in the right direction as it relates to scaling your customer average, selling more events, selling gift cards, increasing awareness within your community, and increasing customer frequency, Like these things scale revenue overnight. And if they've built a great system with you that scales profitability, they're golden.
So let's kind of go real quick. Who is the ideal person that should contact you to learn more about marketing, to 10x their revenue? What does that person look like?
So we work with restaurant owners and operators that do $1 to $3 million a year in business per unit and have no more than 5 units. That's exactly who they are. Okay. These are people that are looking to scale, and they're looking to scale in a major way.
So how do they contact you if they want to learn more about how your program, and because they're ready to make a change?
Well, because of the guarantee, it's not right for everybody. But that doesn't mean that I can't help everybody to a certain degree. So if they go to planwithjosh.com, they can sign up for a growth session. It's a complimentary session. It's 1 hour long. We look at your business. I supply any critical feedback, any tools that they could possibly need, so that if I can help them and enroll them in the course, I'm happy to do it. But if not, 9 times out of 10, I can offer actionable advice and point them in the right direction.
And if I don't fit your demographic, but I want to learn more, what other ways can I find content that you put out there and learn?
So I host the Full Comp podcast, Full Comp as in for free. We put out 2 episodes a week, and we feature everyone. So the idea was to bring in the best ideas from all industries. So Wolfgang Puck, Rick Bayless, Will Guidara have all been on the show. But we've also had on Grant Cardone and Seth Godin and Robert Greene, the author of the 48 Laws of Power, so that we can explore all of the big ideas out there, so that hopefully you don't just feel better at the end of the episode, you are better.
I love it. That's why that's why you and I keep getting back together, doing things together, because I'm willing to put my name on you, Josh, because your core values line up. I've seen what you deliver for my members. It is truly life-changing for many, because most people like ops. If you don't know what you don't know, it's tough to do. Once you learn it, it's easy. The same thing is true. Most people go, I'm not a marketer. I don't know where to start, so on and so forth. You give them all the tools they need. It is not a magic pill. Like me, you create work for people, but it's life-changing. And I hope that anybody who's looking to say, hey, I need to market, that before you waste money just throwing it against the wall, every salesperson that comes in and goes, I can put you on my map, and I can put you on coupons, and I can put you on all this stuff, that you know your why, you know what you're doing, you know your demographic, you know the message you're trying to promote, you know that all your other things are working from menu to website and so on. And that's where I'd tell you to reach out to Josh. If you're falling into that $1 to $3 million, I think you said 1 to 5 unit range, reach out to Josh. Learn. It's a program that will help you change your life. And for those of you who don't fit that demographic, doesn't mean you can't get a piece of Josh for free by going to Full Comp, FULLCOMP. Full Comp is his podcast. And I mean, he's putting out a ton of fantastic content you can learn just like you're listening to me. So, add it to your Spotify, your iTunes, your whatever, where you're listening to your favorite podcasts. Josh, before we wrap up, is there anything you wish you could have told people, piece of advice, something you want to share with people before we go?
Yeah, the thought that I would leave everyone with is this, is that there's an inflection point in our careers, a paradigm shift, where we begin to see the differences between an expense and an investment. And what we must do is begin to see investments in ourselves as valuable as some of the expenses we absorb by, immediately fixing the walk-in cooler. The problems that we see in ourselves, the improvements that need to be made in ourselves are as important, if not more important, than the ones that we see within our business, because we are the engines that drive our business.
I like it. Powerful. We're going to do this again. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us again today, share your thoughts, your knowledge. I hope you get a lot of people reach out to you, because again, Josh, what you do, our industry needs, and I know you are a spectacular individual, and what you provide has changed people's lives. So again, I hope people reach out. Thank you so much for joining me again today.
It's my pleasure, David.
Hey, that was an awesome episode. I want to thank you for taking the time to take action on building a better, more prosperous restaurant. Before you go, I want to give you these 3 thoughts. 1, by combining leadership and taking action with systems and training being checked by accountability, you are on your way to creating prosperity for you and your restaurant. 2, I have something I need from you. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you happen to listen to podcasts. By leaving us a review, other restaurant pros seeking out this information are able to find it. I read the reviews, and hearing how this information has benefited you does wonders for me. And 3, if you find any of the discussions helpful, share them. The more restaurant pros who have access to them, the better we become as an industry. For more restaurant resources or to get in contact with me, connect with me at davidscottpeters.com. Be passionate about what you're doing, be persistent, but more importantly, become better and help everyone around you become better, and your restaurant is going to kick some ass. If you're tired of not being able to leave your restaurant because no one else knows how to run it, I want to make sure you know it doesn't have to be that way. You can leave your restaurant. It is possible to build a team of people who know how you want the restaurant to run. With these trained and responsible people in place, you can give yourself time away. What would you do if you had time away from your restaurant? Would you sleep better? Would your relationships improve? Would you feel more relaxed? These are all things you deserve to experience as a business owner. It's why we own our own businesses. If you would like to learn how to own a restaurant that doesn't depend on you to be successful, click the link in the description to watch a free training course that teaches you exactly what you have to do. Also, be sure to subscribe to get my weekly tips and watch these 2 videos to get more information and guidance for running a successful restaurant.